Hey everyone, Wolf Lord Rho here. Today I'm naming my top 3 recommended Horus Heresy reads for Magnus the Red. Now I will discuss themes and events of the stories I mentioned, so keep that in mind as we move forward. And as usual, I'm going to begin with a couple of honourable mentions before getting to my top 3. Okay, so my first honourable mention for Magnus the Red is The Crimson King by author Graham McNeill. Now this one covers the events of Magnus's shattering post-burning of Prospero, seeing Ahriman and the rest of the Legion attempting to gather the scattered shards of Magnus back together, to reforge and save their Primarch, who had given everything for them at the last during the Battle of Prospero, his mortal body being shattered by the Wolf King. And so this one's a very interesting glimpse into a pivotal time of Magnus's story, witnessing him receiving the appeals to join the War Master's side, and just seeing how, no pun intended, but how shattered he had become. How broken of spirit he truly was, and how desperate his sons were to save him. It's essentially the middle installment that links 1,000 Suns and Fury of Magnus together, and it's definitely an underrated book of the Heresy series for me. However, it lands here rather than within my top 3, because as good as it may be, and as interesting as it is to see this stage of Magnus's story, I think Magnus's story holds up marvellously, even if you do miss this one out. As long as you know he's been broken into shards, which is picked up and mentioned in several other places within the Heresy series, you really can go straight from 1,000 Suns to Fury of Magnus. However, of course, I'd always recommend reading this one first, because it absolutely does improve Magnus's story and take it to the next level. Now, my second honourable mention is Scars by author Chris Raitt. Magnus isn't in this one much at all, but he has a big presence in it in a sense. It follows the events of the White Scars learning of Horus's betrayal and the eruption of the Heresy, with Jagatai being informed Leman Russ and the Wolves have annihilated Prospero, and that Magnus the Red is feared dead, and Jagatai confused by all of the conflicting reports he is receiving, the sheer craziness that appears to have erupted across the galaxy, decides to head to Prospero for himself. And thus we get Jagatai visiting the devastation that is left of Prospero, and meeting a shard of Magnus whilst he is there, which he ultimately destroys. A fantastic moment and well worth checking out if you're a Magnus fan. However, my final honourable mention today goes to Echoes of Eternity by author Aaron Dembski Bowden. This one is more a sanguineous novel undoubtedly, however we get to see Vulcan duelling with the newly demonically ascended Magnus within the Webway too, which is a titanic contest. Magnus's character journey is undoubtedly over by this point, so it doesn't merit making my top 3. However, as a display of what Magnus has lost and become, honestly, it doesn't come any better. This is an absolutely fantastic glimpse into the demon Primarch that Magnus has become. However, with the honourable mentions out of the way, on to my top 3 recommended Horus Heresy series reads for Magnus the Red, with number 1, 1,000 Suns by author Graham McNeill. Now this one for me is undoubtedly one of the best novels of the entire Heresy series, an absolute masterclass of character storytelling. It takes you through the Great Crusade and the initial grudge with Leman Russ, right through to the burning of Prospero, and the arrival to the planet of the sorcerers. You get to see Magnus's unique relationship with his father, and how and why the events of Nicaea cut him so deeply. How even then, Magnus still loved the Emperor. How he sought to warn him through only the best of intentions, and yet how through it all, each and every step of Magnus's journey, he was his own worst enemy. How Magnus did nothing wrong, yet also how he did everything wrong. It is undoubtedly a top 5 novel of the entire Horus Heresy series bar none, and the best in-depth look at a Primarch's character and nature I think we've ever received. A masterclass of writing by author Graham McNeill, and there is truly no other novel that deserves its place more within this top 3 than 1,000 Suns. Moving on, my recommended read number 2 is Magnus the Red, Master of Prospero, also by author Graham McNeill. Now, this one is part of the Horus Heresy Primarch series, and the premise of this one is pretty unique. Along with the rest of the Primarch novels, it is set during the Great Crusade, and it has the combined efforts of the 1,000 Suns and the Iron Warriors legions trying to save a world from a seeming natural disaster. And so you get to see Magnus and Perturabo working side by side, with genuine warmth between the two, seeing how strong and true their friendship truly was, and all within the golden age of the fledgling Imperium to boot. You get to see their shared interests and connection here, yet also even then, how Perturabo could see Magnus's thirst for knowledge and arrogance was his own worst enemy. How Perturabo tried to help him in his own way. And it's just a great story, honestly. Yes, it's got the mandatory epic moments included, such as Magnus taking a las cannon shot from a Baneblade to the chest, Perturabo leaping to catch Magnus as he falls from the sky, saving his brother. However, honestly for me, it's just the opportunity to see Magnus during the Great Crusade, before everything goes wrong, that makes it so good. And you'll come out of the other side of this one loving Perturabo too. That is for sure. Seeing their friendship here back during the time of the Great Crusade undoubtedly gives a real extra level of meaning to when you see it so much later, remaining true within the Siege of Terror. However, my third and final recommended top 3 read for Magnus the Red is Fury of Magnus. And come on, you knew this one was going to be here. My word, what an end to Magnus's heresy story this is. You absolutely do have to read 1,000 Suns beforehand at a minimum, but once you have, Fury of Magnus becomes nothing short of breathtaking. Honestly, if you've never read it, please just stop listening here and go and read it first without spoilers, because it deserves it. It really, really does. And you will be guaranteed to get goosebumps when you're enjoying it. I promise you that. For the rest of us, it covers Magnus's attempts to infiltrate the inner sanctum of the palace during the Siege of Terror. His ambition to regain his final shard, the shard he believes to be the best of himself. His honour and his decency, where we'd see him display feats of compassion, such as saving the loyal refugees from certain death, where we'd see him stop to speak with Malcador one final time, and unbelievably kill him accidentally in a blind rage, and being told his shard no longer exists. I don't know about anyone else, but I was in absolute shock at that moment, trembling in anticipation on what on earth was going on and what was going to happen. feeling like we was entering into something we had never expected. And then, unbelievably, we saw Magnus enter the throne room itself, ascend the golden throne, and speak with his father. Receive an offer of redemption to return to the fold, rejoin his loyal brothers. But it being an offer he simply couldn't accept, at the cost of his legion. And we would get Vulcan and Magnus dueling atop the Golden Throne. Atop the Golden Throne. I mean, come on. My word, what a novel this was. Unbelievable. And it is all just jam-packed with so much emotion if you have followed Magnus's journey, in knowing what he has gone through, in knowing that he never truly betrayed his father, that he never wanted to join the side of the traitors, yet that is exactly where he ends up. It was an absolutely amazing end to Magnus's story, bringing you from hope to tears, to amazement, to sorrow. And it is no coincidence I named Magnus's story as the best Primarch storyline of the Heresy, because author Graham McNeill delivered a masterpiece every step of the way. And so that's it. 1,000 Suns, Magnus the Red, Master of Prospero, and Fury of Magnus. As always everyone, what do you think? Do you agree with my recommended top 3 here, or do you disagree? Were there some within the honourable mentions that you would have in your top 3? Or is there something that I haven't mentioned that you definitely would have? As always everyone, leave your thoughts in the comments below. A huge thank you to all my subscribers, your support truly means a lot to me, it really does. If you're new, please consider subscribing to help the channel grow. And if you enjoyed this particular vid, then why not drop a like on it too. But with that said, I am off, and I'll see you all again real soon.